It's exactly halfway through the international break, and I'm back after feeling not very well for most of this week, and I'm back with a video. I'm back with a wildcard draft and a free hit draft, and also my chip strategy for my remaining chips. Obviously, I've got the free hit myself, and I've still got my triple captain, and when I'm likely to play them, what my team is looking like, the moves I'm looking at making this week, which I've already made the move this week, and potentially the next two moves I'll make for game week 13, which is why I won't be free hitting at this moment in time in game week 13 as well. Again, if you enjoy this content, make sure you smash a like on the video. Leave us a comment with what your chip strategy is and which chips you've still got left to play. And if you haven't already, please consider smashing that subscribe button. We're well on the way now to 4,000, so I can only do it with you guys clicking that button, and it only takes a second of your time. With that being said, ladies and gents, let's get into it. So let's start off with the fixture difficulty rating. And look, there has been some massive changes here. So as you can see here, I've knocked Arsenal all the way down from the top down to mid really. I was actually tempted to put them even further down. Like when you look at the fixtures for Arsenal, and people have just doubled up, they've tripled up on Arsenal defence, I don't actually see that many clean sheets coming for them. Like game week 16 is the week where I really want Arsenal players. It's against Wolves at home. It looks really good on paper. Outside of those fixtures, I don't actually think they're that good. And let's be honest, Arsenal are not a free-flowing attacking team. They've got a bunch of players that are due back from injury post the international break. So you've got Martin Odegaard, Madueke, Martinelli, even Havertz is probably making his way back. Like, all these players are going to impact on the minutes of all the people that are currently there. And we're already wondering whether Saka is worth it at 10.1 mil. Like, he's worth it for 1 week in game week 16. Is he worth it for the other weeks with Madueke coming back, needing minutes taken and off him? I don't think he is. So, look, I've knocked Arsenal all the way down there. I think they're going to I think they're going to start dropping some points, is my honest answer to that. They've had a very nice run of fixtures over the last 5 or 6 weeks. Now it gets much harder. Now, the teams that have gone massively up, Crystal Palace, hello, I actually think that they have the best fixture ticker of the lot. And it's not by much, and a lot of people say that Man United should be top. I just don't think Man United have shown the form to be top. And yes, their fixtures might be the easiest or whatever. From now through to game week 21, if we looked at from game week 12 to game week 21, Man United are far and away the best club to invest in because they have a ridiculously good run of fixtures from game week 14 through to game week 20. Like, they play Wolves twice, they play Burnley, and they've got all the nice fixtures you want. And realistically, that's probably where you want to go. Now, as I said, 6-week play, and that's what we're looking at because obviously those AFCON transfers are going to get deposited in game week 16. So that's where you've got to use your transfers before then, or else you won't get the full topped up to 5. Because if you've got 3 in there and you go into game week 16, you're only going to get 2 bonus. So again, you just got to sit there and make them. So I think this is the best chance to get aggressive, and it starts in game week 12. So for me, Crystal Palace at the top, Wolves away, best fixture on paper in the league at the moment. They're rubbish. Home and away, they're absolutely rubbish. I've changed them off of yellow because they're crap. They just need to be dark green for the entire season, I think. Man United, as I said, they're really good now. Newcastle, they play Manchester City this week, and I've completely gone off Newcastle. You can see there, I've dumped them all the way down to the second bottom line there. Their fixtures, they did poorly in the good fixtures. They're now going into the more difficult fixtures. I'm a bit scared for Newcastle fans and for Eddie Howe. He needs to turn that ship around pretty quickly. Manchester City, they're an easy third place outside of the Newcastle game. And to be honest, if you see that one way or the other, you could say it's easy, you could say it's hard. At the moment, it's probably more easy than it is hard based on what we've seen from Newcastle the last few weeks. And then we've got Aston Villa. Aston Villa, lots of people, obviously myself scarred. I had Ollie Watkins start the season. I'm not going to sit there and promote that you should go and get him. But I think it's worth investing in some of their defenders, particularly if you're on wildcard, if you're on a free hit this week. It's nice fixtures for the next 4 or so for them as well. Then Liverpool, they have to be talked about. I don't think the fixtures are anywhere near as good as people bang on about, because the really good ones are away from home. So West Ham in 13 away from home, Leeds away in 15 as well. Those are the 2 you've got your earmarked on, and they're away from Anfield. So I'm still not convinced by Liverpool in general. I don't know. I don't see the clamour for Szoboszlai when you can buy a Rice, when you can buy an Enzo, you can buy a Sarr, you can buy an Ahmad. Why would you go for Szoboszlai Answer me that. Then obviously Brighton, they're it's hard because so many good assets exist, which makes it hard to bring in Brighton ones, even though the fixtures are pretty damn good for them for the foreseeable future outside that Liverpool game, and it looks pretty good for Brighton players. Chelsea, their fixtures are a little bit middling now. Yes, they've got Burnley and Leeds in 2 of the next 3, but they've also got Arsenal, which is not ideal. And then some of their other trips away from Stamford Bridge are not that easy either. Bournemouth are a bit middling. Their defence has really gone off it away from home, so I've knocked them down. Even though in theory they look like they've got really good fixtures, but I'm not so sure that they do. And Nottingham Forest, they are a team we need to probably start turning our attentions towards again. And then Everton, it goes south poorly after that. Some of those teams down on the bottom rungs, they've just got poor fixtures in general. Fulham do come into a nice run if you are looking for a bench boost later, about 16, 17, 18. They've got good fixtures then, but prior to then, I wouldn't be going anywhere near them. So that's what the updated fixture difficulty looks like for me, and I'm quite happy to have Wolves back in the dark green, no longer the yellow. And Nottingham Forest I put back to grey because I think they're going to be a lot harder than people give them credit for at this moment in time. So what I've done this week, obviously, I have been keeping an eye on the price changes, and I didn't want to sit there and watch Munoz rise in price and Dan Burn drop in price. Now, I know that it hasn't happened yet, but Munoz is getting very, very close to a price rise, so I have moved him into my team. And look, I've got the 2 free transfers. Now I've only got 1 left because obviously I've made this move. So Munoz is in for Burn, and the team looks pretty good. Now, the biggest quandary I've got this week, and like lots of people are going to sit there and say I'm an absolute idiot, and I'm fine with that because maybe I am, but I am strongly considering benching Haaland for Senesi or Mukiele. Like, I'm actively looking at benching Haaland and either benching Rice or Gabriel for Mukiele and Senesi and playing those 4 in defence, like Chalobah, Munoz, Senesi, Mukiele. I just think that the fixtures look really good, and like I just sit there and I keep coming back to my head. All season long, we've sat there and said strikers aren't worth the act, right? Like they don't get any DC points, they don't get whatever. And I'm just sitting there hypothesising. I could be completely wrong, and Haaland might bang in a hat-trick against Newcastle because the facts suggest that Newcastle's defence is crap, because that's what we've seen against West Ham, against Brentford. Haaland could easily score a hat-trick, and I'm just talking out my ass. But there is a world where Haaland goes to Newcastle because it's at St James's Park. Newcastle historically play better there than they do away from home, and he blanks. He hasn't got the best record against Newcastle. I think the most he's ever scored in a game against them is 1 goal. So look, I'm then looking in, can Senesi, Mukiele, Gabriel, can they beat Haaland this week? Well, the short answer is yes, they can. The long answer is potentially they won't. Now, I'm doing myself, and like people will sit there and say, why don't you sell Haaland? Well, the reason why I don't want to sell Haaland is because next week onwards, he is going to be the permanent captain for like the next 5 weeks, pretty much. Other than when I free hit in Gameweek 16. We're going to get why I'm free hitting in Gameweek 16, but you'll see the moves I'm intending on making in Gameweek 13, and then it'll make it a lot more sense why I'm potentially looking at the free hit 16 strategy rather than the free hit 13 strategy. So, as you can see from my team, it looks pretty good this week. In theory. And I've said that a lot this season, and it's not gone how I thought it would go. So that's why I am very tempted by just doing a Hail Mary, man. Like, look at my rank. It doesn't really matter if I sat there and bench Haaland or not. At 5.5, if I bench him and he blanks and Senesi comes in with like a 15-pointer, all of a sudden I've got all those idiots that have captained Haaland like the sheep that they are, and all of a sudden I've literally just gained 11 points on them straight off the bat. I know that that's probably not going to happen, but like, if I was top 1 mil, I would still be tempted to do the same. If I was top 10k, I probably wouldn't be so tempted to do that. But at this rank, who really cares? It's either going to go well or it's not. And I feel like I've played most of this season a little bit caviarly anyway, so why not just keep on going and have a bit of fun with it? And there is a world where he just blanks, and all of a sudden I look like the absolute genius that I thought I'm going to be looking like the last 5 weeks, and it's only happened once. So, look, it's got to happen at some point or later. You never know. Might tear a hamstring in the first 5 minutes. I'm looking like an absolute genius. So game week 13, these would be the next 2 moves I do. So I'd use up the last 2 of my free transfers, and I would be getting rid of Semenyo. Now, I know this is going to sound controversial, and people are going to say you're an absolute tool, and getting rid of Chalobah, but the fixtures go bad pretty quickly, right? So Mateus Nunes would come in for Chalobah because Chalobah obviously plays Arsenal. I don't see them keeping a clean sheet there. And then Semenyo obviously departs because he's been underwhelming, and I'm hoping he actually goes big against West Ham because a lot of people then want to hold, and I just think that this is the opportune time at this moment in time to just get rid of him and bring back my boy Phil Foden. Now, obviously the Leeds at home game looks beautiful. I have actually penciled this of one of two fixtures where I might play triple captain. So triple captain Haaland against Leeds does look pretty sexy on paper, and he's still in really good form, so it seems like a bit of a no-brainer to play like that. Now, the other fixture, which I haven't got the graphic for, whatever, but Bruno Fernandes plays Wolves in game week 19. Yeah, I know. Wolves in game week 19 at home. It's the second time they played Wolves in about 5 game weeks. Now, the reason why I like that is because Mbumo's going to be away on AFCON, guaranteed during that particular moment in time, unless he's injured. And there is a world where Bruno Fernandes goes a little bit further forward when Mbumo leaves. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I can always default it back to Haaland over the time. But I want a little look to see if Bruno's playing in that further forward position, because he is a man that we know can go nuclear against these crappy looking sides. So I just think that Bruno Fernandes is one I've definitely got my eyes on, potentially in game week 19. Look, I am playing it very differently. The idea of the double chips or whatever, I did say at the start of the year, it was a chance to have a bit of fun for 1 week. And my chances, let's be honest, of finishing top 100k rely on some outlandish punts from here on in. I know it's still early doors and we've still got 26 game weeks left of the season, but I'm not a patient person and I like to sit there and take risks. So potentially in game week 19, that might be when the triple captaincy is on. Otherwise, the most logical option for me is to play it in game week 13 because I won't be free hitting, because as you can see here, I know that Crystal Palace play Man United. Now, I'm not concerned about that because Man United is scoring goals and I can still see Munoz getting an attacking return against Manchester United. And if I was so worried about it, I could then just bring in Senesi instead, or Mukiele, and play one of them instead. Like, it's not that much of an issue. My biggest issue this week is actually the goalkeeper, like Pope or Petrovic, which one to trust, because they're both away from home, and Newcastle and Bournemouth have both been horrible away from home. Other than that, the team looks perfectly fine in 13, which is why I don't think I'll be free hitting. But if you fast forward to game week 16, and we're going to have a look at that very shortly, Manchester City play Crystal Palace in game week 16. That is 6 of my starting lineup playing each other in game week 16. It makes perfect sense for my team to use free hit in that game week and just attack everything else outside of it, either side of it, with the players I've got. Like, I literally built this team for this stretch of run so that way I didn't have to wild card now. And look, I know I don't have any Liverpool players, and that is a calculated gamble. I'm betting on the fact that from what I've seen from them the first 11 game weeks, I don't think Slot's going to be able to fix it this season. And I think as soon as Liverpool know that the season's kind of got away and they can't win the league, they're going to focus primarily on the Champions League, and it might be just hopefully reading way ahead of the curve and just being in front of it, and not having Liverpool players might actually be the correct call. And I'm just going with that. So look, that's just the way I'm playing it. Doesn't mean you have to play it that way, but that is my forward plans going forward. And that's my 2 moves that I intend on making in game week 13. Now, the only other move I'm considering is whether to just sit there and ditch Pope and buy like Martinez, because I think Martinez could be really good for Aston Villa. Or if I think Man United are actually capable of keeping some clean sheets, it could be for Le Mans. But that could be in game week 14. I don't have to do it in game week 13 because I've got to use those transfers before I use the free hit. So that might be something that waits. But the team in general looks pretty good. And to be honest, outside of this week, the other transfers might be towards removing the Arsenal assets. I might remove Rice and I might remove Gabriel because, as I've just said, I don't think their fixtures are overly good. And I intend on free hitting in game week 16 is when they're playing Wolves. So I'll have my Arsenal assets regardless by triple up then for game week 16. That might actually be the play. And yeah, for me, I've just got to hope that my differential type of strategy finally starts bearing some fruit. But yeah, let's get into the real show, why you actually showed up for this video. So quickly to take you back here, and this is very important for what I'm about to go through. So for free hit and wildcard, the teams you really do need to be considering are the ones sitting there in the top 2 lines. They're the players that you should be targeting for this run of fixtures that just look really, really good. Now, I'm going to talk you through some alternatives if you want to avoid the AFCON transfers or having to waste transfers to take out your AFCON players later on. I fully appreciate that. It makes a lot of sense if you want to bank transfers, but I just think this is a period where a lot of people won't be going near AFCON players because they don't want to waste a transfer moving them out. And I think it's an opportunity to gain some rank because I think that these AFCON players are going to be tuning up for hopefully what will be a really good AFCON tournament. Hopefully their heads aren't already there, but yeah. And so I really think you need to be targeting Palace until they run out of legs, which might happen around game week 16, which is when I'm planning to offload quite a few of them. Man United, they're just good for a long time. Man City, good for a long time. Aston Villa, pretty good for a long time as well. Liverpool, not too bad for a long time. These are the teams you need to target. I know I'm being a bit harsh on Liverpool. It's mainly because of the fact I'm just not convinced by their form, so don't take it personally. That's just how I've viewed it. So let's have a look at a free hit draft for game week 12. And look, you can see here already, and I know people are going to sit there and say, where's Haaland? Well, Haaland's not here. Because if you're free hitting, you're going with something a bit different, right? And I will admit, this week, if I had to pick between Salah and Haaland, I would go with Mo Salah. Why? Because he's got the home fixture and Haaland is always normally strategically better at home. And I would just captain Mo Salah. I'd bring him in and captain him. I'd have no issues about it. I don't think Nottingham Forest are going to be walkovers by any stretch of the imagination, which is why I've still got them as a grey fixture myself. But I think that Liverpool will put a performance in. I think Mo Salah will be heavily involved. And I just like him. Differential captain this week makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously, I'm targeting the fixtures this week. Martinez is in goal. That Leeds away game should be a pretty good game for them. Luca Dean was unfortunate not to make his way onto the field, and maybe some people would prefer to have him on the field rather than these other blokes. But when you look at the rest of the team, it makes a lot of sense. So we've got the triple Crystal Palace. Wolves away is just a no-brainer. You've got to go with the attacking players there. So it's Mateta, Sarr, and Munoz. They're just going to be great. They are going to be great. Mateta obviously doubles up there as your vice-captain. Trafford's obviously in there because squad value became a bit of a problem here. Only 101 million to put this one together. There was nothing left in the bank. Yes, you could have Senesi, but I think Trafford is actually going to be really good there, especially going down that right-hand side. He's been really good for Bournemouth, and he's been very good for underlying bonus points as well. So, yes, he might not get the DCs, but he's every chance he could get some bonus if they keep a clean sheet regardless. And he's also going to be whacking in those balls. And West Ham have not been very good at dealing with crosses from either side of the box. So Trafford could be amazing value there. I've gone with Cucurella. Now, I understand that other people, whatever, but Chelsea play Barcelona midweek, and thanks to Trick for pointing this out, followed by then Arsenal at the weekend. I think you've just got to go for the nailed asset, and I think Cucurella is going to be nailed, so I can't see him not playing. And I've gone with Neto. Yes, that is a bit risky because obviously, as I've just talked about, there could be some... And Maresca loves a bit of rotation. We all know this. But I just think that Neto could go big. And when you're going on a free hit, you've got to go for some punts that you think can go big. And Neto obviously did really well in the last game against Burnley. Yes, it was Burnley. I had to double think. No, not Burnley. Wolves. Sorry, it was against Wolves. I knew it was one of those teams. And I just think that why not go with them? Like, play the fixtures. That's what you do on free hit. You play the fixtures. You don't necessarily play the form per se. It's a one-off punt week. You're just hoping that the players you pick to do better than your actual own team. I still think double Man United attack against that Everton team. Everton don't travel anywhere near as well away from home as they do at home. So I almost have that as a green fixture for United, but because of the fact I've seen Everton do some weird things of late, I've left it as a grey. And I just think this team screams points. I would be shocked if this team did not deliver 80 plus points this week. I would be legitimately shocked if you free hit it and you pick this exact draft. If it doesn't get you 80 plus points, you can come back here and abuse me because I'm pretty confident it's getting 80 plus points and quite comfortably as well. So yeah, let me know what you think of that as my free hit draft this week. And let's get into one of 3 wildcard drafts for game week 12. So the first one, and now this one was put together based on the fact that you're just throwing away your goalkeepers pretty much. Now, this is obviously for a later bench boost, which is why I've actually gone with this combination of goalkeepers as well. You wouldn't be playing a bench boost anytime soon. It's probably realistically when Dubravka and Verbrugge, one of them has a really good week, and Mukiele has a decent game week as well. I think from memory, I penciled in around about game week 17, game week 18. Around then, they've got nicer fixtures, which should allow you to bench boost with significantly higher potential for points is where I was going. So this draft actually comes in at 101.9 million. It's obviously got your Haaland up top. It's got Mateta there as well. And Mateta would be the captain this week. Obviously with Sarah as the vice captain. Just a little bit of fun there at that Wolves away fixture. I think he's going to be better value than Haaland away at Newcastle. I've got Thiago on the bench, which is why you've spread the money out here. Like, there's no player. And the unfortunate thing with this draft is it's going to give you benching headaches every single week. But it is what it is. If you need to play the bench boost, you actually have to have a half decent bench that you wouldn't mind playing every single week. And I've tried to limit it. Like, Thiago's probably the best third forward you want that isn't someone you don't want to ever play. So for that reason, you've got to spend up there. In the midfield, I know you could have gone cheaper in the midfield, but I've just gone dirt cheaper in defence. And I remember last season, Gameweek 12 last year, I wildcarded and I picked 4.5 billion defenders, and it served me beautifully. Now, I actually think that Cash could be really good value. Richards obviously is exceptionally good value for 4.5. He is the best 4.5 million defender in the game by some considerable distance. Better than, God I say it, Anderson and other players. And then Mukiele. Mukiele's as good as a 4.5 million defender. In fact, a lot of those Sunderland boys are. And he's actually got really good attacking threat behind him as well. So I don't know why he'd actually bother playing up for anything else. Now, on this one, I have gone for double Arsenal still, just because I think that a lot of people are probably not going to be willing to take the risk of just not having Gabriel in particular. And then in order to facilitate the other parts of the draft, I've gone with Rice, just because of the fact that Rice, as I said, he's on 75% of the set pieces. Saka's on 25%. I know he's on penalties as well, but it is what it is. And then I've gone with just the Man City punt. I just feel like Man City are going to explode from game week 13 onwards. And yeah, I think you need an attacker, you need a midfielder, and you need a defender. So I've gone with my three favourites. I've gone with Haaland. I've gone with my boy Phil Foden, who I do think it's inevitable at some point he's going to start putting that form that he's shown in the Champions League into the Premier League. And this kind of run is the kind of run I bought him in for last season, and he went nuclear. So I know he has done nothing in the league. He scored one goal and got one assist or whatever all season. I appreciate that. And yes, I might be deluded because he had such an amazing run for me last season. But I'm going to back him in. I'm going to bring those two in myself. So I'm not sitting there saying that I would put him in. I'm actively going to be bringing him in myself. And then Mateus Nunes, shout out to Nightmare. He called it perfectly. He just called it too early. The problem he didn't do what Nightmare said the first 5 weeks. But since game week 6 to game week 11, Mateus Nunes has done exactly what Nightmare and I thought would happen at the start of the season. He's sat there and produced huge scores. He's got 2 double-figure hauls. Lots of people talking about him and Riley. I think Mateus Nunes is a complete lock. When he plays, Man City looks so much better, particularly going forward, but also just down the right-hand side in general. So, look, if I was wildcarding game week 12, I think I'd go something like this for a draft if I had to still bench boost. Now, I do appreciate that some people don't like the goalkeeping combination, which is why I've put together a few other drafts for your perusal. So on to the second one. And this one is obviously shredding the Arsenal players. Now, people are like, you're an idiot, D-Unit, you're an idiot. I appreciate that that some people might think I'm an idiot. And yes, I'm aware that Mateta should be 8.1 million on this. As I said, my head is still not 100%, and I'm still struggling with actually my thought processes. But this one, we've gone with a bit of a more tried and trusted formula. We've got Vardio instead of Mateus Nunes, because I think probably he might be a bit more of a lock. I don't know. Maybe Mateus Nunes is just as much of a lock and you can save yourself 0.5 million. But again, this is really good draft for a potential bench boost. And again, it sets you up very nicely for a free hit 16. So as I said, the fixture you want for Arsenal, right, is that game week 16 against Wolves. Outside of that, I think you can probably take them on. And I would hazard a guess and say 70% of the time you're going to get away with it, because I just think the fixtures are much harder. So this is all in on you still having a free hit for 16. So you can free hit in 3 Arsenal assets against Wolves. That is the play. That is the whole entire point of this particular draft. But it also then sets you up for a bench boost further down the line as well. So again, The worst players in this squad are probably Mukiele in the defence and Anderson in the midfield. Again, they're all capable of getting points. So bench boosting with any combination should be a relatively nice experience with a lot of potential points, probably a lot more than what I've got. It also sets you up well. You've got double United, you've got double Palace, you've got triple City, you've got one from Liverpool. I've obviously put Virgil in there. That's Virgil instead of like Gabriel, based on the fixtures. And you would expect Liverpool to keep more clean sheets than Arsenal based on the fixtures. And again, Martinez comes in goal here. That should placate a few people that probably didn't like Verbruggen in goal. He should be really good, I think, over the next 6 weeks in particular, and probably longer term as well. I think Aston Villa's fixtures through to about game week 26, game week 27 are perfectly fine. So you could probably get away with just Martinez being your goalkeeper for the pretty much the rest of the season and be quite happy with it, I think. So yeah, again, I quite like this draft too. It just depends on what other chips you've got left. If you've got triple captain, if you've got free hit, if you've got bench boost, this draft is probably where I'd go. Because you can triple captain in 13 on Haaland, you can free hit in 16. It just looks so good, right? And again, yes, there is a couple of AFCON players in here, but nothing too bad that it's going to completely wreck your 5 free transfers that you get in game week 16. So I quite like that one. And then lastly, if you've already played your bench boost, I'd be going with a draft like this. This is number 3. This is based on the fact you've already played your bench boost, right? So I know, again, there's a couple of players in here like going, what? Why are you not going further down and spending more money in your thing? I just think over the Christmas period and there's midweek Premier League games and stuff like this, I still think it's important that you have playing players on the bench. And I've been a strong believer on that. And I've already looking back at my team going, Mark Gui, I think at some point is going to be a big problem for me. And it's going to force me into making 2 transfers at minimum in order to fix it. So I'm just encouraging people probably not to do that. But look, the difference between Xhaka and Mark Gui is 0.9 million. Like, that's a lot of money, right? So, but I just think that Xhaka, for the security of minutes, for the security of he's going to show up every single week unless he's suspended or injured, he's just going to be great value at 5.1 million. It's impossible not to look past that or ignore it. Then obviously we've got Saran here. So Saran and Boom, obviously you're going to have to transfer out when it comes to AFCON. But that's only 2 transfers. And I think it's worth going with them anyway. And look, you're going to have transfers between game week 12 when you're wildcard and game week 16 anyway. So that's neither here nor there. Again, there's nothing left in the bank here. This one you're playing it kind of safe because you've got Gabriel and Virgil and Lacroix. So one of like those 3 defenses. Plus then you've got like Cash on the bench. Thiago, Mukiele on the bench. I mean, like, the squad in general doesn't need that much explaining. You're just not going all in on Pep Roulette. Instead, you're only going half in. You're going 2 United. You've still got 3 Palace. You've got 1 Liverpool. You've got a couple of Villa. Like, you've got all those teams that you really want assets from in the squad. And in theory, that's what you should need for a really good wildcard draft. Now, hopefully, that's giving you a little bit of food for thought. I just think that there's so many, I've seen so many drafts put out this week that are literally all exactly the same without much thought process behind it, or just literally looking at FPL review and other things like that. I think last season I played Wildcard 12 so differently to what everyone else did, and it worked off massively, and I went from whatever it was to 10K in the space of 5 weeks on Wildcard 12 last year. So if you're in around the top million spots, you can definitely do that in the next 5 weeks by not going exactly what it is and looking a little bit further ahead. Like, pick your Man City boys this week. They can easily bang against Newcastle. There's no reason to get panicked about that. And don't be put off by the fact that players are going to AFCON. Like, a Boomer might be staying to game week 17. There's reports that Man United are in negotiations to keep him for game week 17. So why sit there and not go for him? It's points you're going to miss out on. I'm telling you, all these blokes are going to go bang. So that brings me to the end of my Game Week 12 wildcard special. Yes, we're back in business. Hopefully I'll have my differentials out on Monday with some luck, giving myself a few more days to fully recover. But hopefully that's providing you some content that is different to what is out there, because I've seen a lot of wildcard drafts this week and they're all literally the same. They copy and paste from review. They've still got Anderson in there instead of Richards. God, make that make sense to me, because I can't. But yeah, if you've enjoyed that, please smash a like on the video. You can also see where I'm going with my strategy as well. So Free Hit is on for 16, and I'm looking at either triple captain 13 on Haaland or triple captain Bruno in Game Week 19. And if you've enjoyed that, leave me a comment. If you haven't already smashed that sub button, smash it. And I'll see you all next week for the lead up to Game Week 12 officially. I've been the FPL D-Unit. Have a good weekend.